But if we're talking about reality splitting wars and all this grandiose things, does the Falcon and Winter Soldier really fit in there? Like, it could have been made later, or I don't know.
I'm gonna say it really caught everybody's attention because remember, Cap died, and everybody would just basically want to see what's going to happen with the next step. Who's going to be new Captain America, or which happened, which finally did show through why I see in the comics why there is a Black Captain America now. That's why I think they did the show.
Why I say it does fit in is because this is basically us getting, for like a better term, a replacement for Captain America. So since we now have a replacement for Captain America, when it comes to Secret Wars, when it comes to, I'm gonna keep mentioning it because it's one of my favorites, X-Men versus Avengers, we're gonna have a Captain America. It may not be exactly the one from the comics, but keep in mind, this is a whole different universe to where these events can still take place. That's when I'm like, okay, so we're basically gonna have a Black Captain America take on the mantle and go into Secret Wars while having Bucky by his side. We're gonna also get that in X-Men versus Avengers with Bucky by his side. When I'm pretty sure, hell, for all we know, maybe this Blade series that they're gonna do, if it does take place in the same universe, for all we know, maybe Blade has a daughter and she takes on the mantle of Iron Man, like they did in the comics, where there's a black girl being Iron Man, or I don't know what it's called, like Ironheart or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, Ironheart.
Yeah, so Ironheart. So they could probably be playing along with that in a with that aspect. It's kind of still, like you said, it's a little messy right now, but because of how well they've been doing everything, I can probably maybe count with 3 fingers which are the worst movies in the MCU, and that's Thor: Dark World, Captain Marvel, and it's hard for me to even really name a third one. Like, you can kind of put Iron Man 3 in there just because of the fact that it's not the true what's his name? Not Mandalorian.
Mandarin.
With the true Mandarin. So you can kind of put those 3 at the bottom. And still, Iron Man 3 is actually still a good movie to watch. Yeah. So, but that's why I'm like, okay, out of like 22 films, you got 3 bad ones. And in my opinion, probably going to be a 4th bad one when Black Widow comes out. But other than that, like, we're still good.
Bro, I actually feel bad for Scarlett Johansson, bro, because it's like, it just shows like they should have been did this movie, bro. Like, they waited, they should have did it like around the time the Winter Soldier came out, or right before they was going into Age of Ultron. They should have did a movie with Black Widow, because if you gonna bring Taskmaster, bro, we should have been got Taskmaster if that was the case, bro. Like, this, if this is supposed to be the villain they were supposed to build this up for, bro, I feel like this could not. If this is the only, that'll definitely be a disappointment. I'll be honest, bro. Because Taskmaster, bro, he's really just a side villain, bro. We already know he's basically just a duplicate of everybody else's like powers and all they weapons and all like that. So it's like, bro, he ain't really no. I feel like that's what takes it out for me. Like, I understand the Red Guardian character and Yelena and all like that. That's cool, but in terms of if you saying Taskmaster's supposed to be the only person he fight, I'm like, bro. That's we know that. That's the simple Black Widow story. We know that. It's like, I feel like I hope it's more to this. You know what I'm saying? Because
I can tell you why they're doing a Black Widow movie. They felt bad for Scarlett Johansson not getting her own movie as Black Widow for being the first, for basically being the first female lead in an MCU movie. They felt bad for not giving it to her because they felt Captain Marvel were giving her basically, like, doing a backstory for her and be like, oh, okay, this is why she has these abilities. This is why she's so OP and why she's going to be able to help take down Thanos. That's really what Captain Marvel was for. So they were like, you know what? We're going to get an uproar about how come Black Widow didn't get a movie. So we're going to give her a movie. But let's be honest. If this movie was purely going to actually be great, they would have just put it on Disney Plus last year during the pandemic. There was no reason for them to halt it for a whole year. No reason. Just for them to put it on Disney Plus anyway.
Yep.
Damn.
Bro, I feel like they didn't want it to be overshadowed by what other content was out at the time.
Damn.
Yep.
Yeah.
This still would have been right, though, because at the end of the day, what did we get last year before WandaVision? We really got nothing. Because WandaVision came out, when was that, like September, October. I can't remember what month it was, but it came out last year.
Yeah.
And we had months prior to that where Disney could have been like, you know what? We'll put it on Disney Plus, Premier Access, spend your $30, and we're good to go.
I ain't gonna hold, cause it made me think about something with that Iron Man shit. Cause what you did made me, and I'm just only asking this: did Tony Best Friend ever have a child?
Who you talking about, Rhodey?
Yeah, did Rhodey ever have a child?
Not that I know.
Nah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that just kind of made me think about
they
something.
They is
with
making
that.
what's that called? The Iron Wars. So he gonna finally have a show. What's his name? Yeah, Rhodey. He gonna have his show. I think that's how they said that's how they gonna bring the Punisher and all like that. But that's what I'm nervous about, bruh. Cause it's like I understand I understand where they trying to put it in terms because he's he's a veteran. He's like a soldier and all like that. So I know like the Frank Castle story, like he is a soldier. I think that's how they gonna try to do it. But I'm like, bruh, Frank Castle is nothing like Rhodey, bro. They're completely two different type of soldiers, bro. Like, they move
Frank
completely
Castle is 100%.
So I'm wondering how could Frank Castle play in this Marvel Cinematic Universe?
They're trying to bring in too many characters at once. They're doing way too much. Like what you said though, because it's messy right now. Like it is messy because like you said, they're trying to bring in Punisher, Luke. They're trying to basically bring in like the people from Netflix into the MCU. You know, they're trying to do with Daredevil.
Now, Daredevil, Now, Daredevil, I believe they can, because he's a lawyer, so you can put him in Spider-Man, you can put him in She-Hulk. Like, there's a lot of comics where they interacted with Jennifer Walters and Peter Parker. Like, Daredevil, and I could say some of the Defenders, they you could make that work in MCU. But in terms of like characters like we tell you, like Blade, like how you supposed to bring like characters like vampires and like this, and you try to bring Deadpool, that's like you already know how his character, they gonna have to tone him down if he's gonna come in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like they gotta tone the blood down, the cursing, all that. Like
that's why I said what they should do since they own Fox now, don't tone them down. Just have them be on Fox, but it's still MCU. I mean, because that's how Incredible Hulk was. It was Paramount or Universal Studios, and then he's still MCU. They didn't really tone him. I mean, they toned him down. Don't get me wrong, but they didn't necessarily have to like tone down like the mannerism in a sense. Like they didn't have to really tone down necessarily who he was. Whereas Deadpool, it's like you tone him down, that's bad. Realistically, they toned down Blade. As far as the blood and the gore, that's going to be bad. I'm not looking for like the whole like language. I'm looking for the visuals. If they tone down the visuals,
I don't think they can turn up really hard, Cuzzo. But even though there's some movies that we seen, they could play it safe with this because, like for instance, like how we seen in Endgame, that movie was rated R, but we seen Thanos get his head chopped off. You know what I'm saying? Like they can do things where some things they can kind of get away with, but in terms of a vampire movie, you're gonna have to get blood and a lot of, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to go a certain level of that in terms of you speaking of vampires and like that. So in terms of Disney trying to display it, I don't know how far they would go, but I know there's some ways you can play it safe where it may look legit, because it's like there's some things in these Marvel movies I didn't expect to even see. And I thought it should have been like I said, for the Hagen call, I didn't expect that to even, like they was gonna even show that, you know what I'm saying? But it's some things you can play safe with, but in terms of a Blade and all like that, I don't know. That's kind of hard. I ain't gonna lie.
I'm gonna keep you real.
The Snipes Blade. And the same only reason why the Wesley Snipes Blade was all rated R was mainly because of the language and because of the little bit of blood from when they biting the people. That's really just about it. But when it came down to when he's shooting them and cutting them down, and they turn to ash, that actually works out. They can actually still introduce that. They can still introduce that part in the Blade, and that's good.
Man, Frank, you know how I am about Blade. I was my hero before I had a hero. I'm just disappointed.
I'm just concerned about mixing Blade and these independent characters into the main Marvel universe, and then them being overshadowed by people who could blow up planets and shit.
Yeah, it's too many. You got these street level characters, then you got these Omega level characters. Like when the Secret Wars thing happened, who's going to face who? How you know that? That's kind of my question in this too, because you're seeing most of these, like for instance, you got people like Wanda, you got Vision, But then you got characters like Falcon that's flying around. He's like basically like a street level character where you know he ain't gonna do nothing against no Galactus or no Doom or nothing like that. You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta lead characters like him for like, you know what I'm saying, Thunderbolts or anything like that. I feel like that's what they're trying to do. I feel like they're trying to lead some of the street level characters for like teams like Thunderbolts and like that. And then for in terms of Galactus, Kang, or like, you know what I'm saying, Doom, you can lead them for like Black Panther, you can lead them for Doctor Strange, like them people that you know that can handle cosmic level type of like Omega level characters, stuff like that. I feel like that's how they'll probably have to do it with that, because like you said, it's too many different types of, like, you don't know who can face who. It's like, you know, like a Wanda, like, or even like I said, Falcon can't go up against certain villains now, bro. Like, they'll just be too overpowered with him. Like, you see what he did when he went up against some people that was taking the serum. Like, he couldn't barely do nothing against them. So it's like, bro, I don't know. They, like you said, they definitely got to play it safe with that, bro.
So let me ask y'all this, and I want y'all full opinion upon this. When it comes to Loki, kind of getting back on track here, when it comes to this Loki series, do you think that they're going to basically destroy the main timeline, the main time stream, so that way they can actually branch out with the multiverse in Doctor Strange 2, to where it's basically going to come down to where I think at the series end of Loki, it's going to be like, okay, Loki took down the TVA and everything it basically stands for, but Doctor Strange is like, okay, that messes up what I'm doing over here, so we now kind of have to fix it. And Doctor Strange 2 is going to probably go into something to where it's like, okay, we're not gonna really fix this the way it is, because I've seen the light. It's better to let people live their lives the way they should be, and not have to somebody basically like overlook every little movement that they're doing. And then because of that, it's gonna help branch off into, you get the multiverse now. That's why it's called the multiverse of madness, because you're gonna be able to have Fox with X-Men over there and periodically coming into the MCU. You're going to be able to have Spider-Man, like with Sony makes sense, with coming down to Venom, Morbius, Kraven the Hunter. That's going to make more sense now, because it's the multiverse of madness. And then like what you were saying, you got Fantastic Four coming out, you got this, you got that. I feel like that's how it's going to play out. So that way everything can make sense. It's be like, okay, because of this event over here, it's going to happen over here. This is going to be that time stream, and this is going to happen over here with that time stream. There's no main time stream anymore. So what are your guys' thoughts upon that?
Solomon, you want to touch on that first since you just hopped up in here, bro?
Yeah. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, man, I believe what they're doing is basically creating a universe that a lot of people wanted to see, but doing it kind of late. Like the fact that we're, I feel like everything's kind of setting up to something. Like now I feel like we're going to start seeing groups of people, because you have them trying to introduce the Six, them trying to introduce the Thunderbolts, which is where I think a lot of these other characters are coming in, because you have General Ross, with the She-Hulk series coming out, and then you have also I think they're trying to form Masters of Evil really with this Loki show, as everything leading up to is leading up to that group. So I feel like to really touch base on, I do think they're trying to create different worlds, so they can have different movies that I want to see for years on end. But it's like, it's a mess, but I feel like they're trying to make it a little better, to see, because everybody's wanting to see the multiverse for a while, and then also the villain groups, instead of just the Avengers, the X-Men, the Guardians, people like that. People want to see these villain groups kind of arise, and I think that they can. So I think they're using this multiverse as a way to introduce that.
Yeah, same here, bro. I feel the same way, cause bro.
I think.
What you think, Frank?
This will chime in as well. I think that they don't have the balls or the willingness to risk disrupting the main continuity. Like, we still gonna have like our main storyline of like, the Avengers fighting some huge issue, right? That's always going to be the same. Even if the Avengers change or the people who are fighting in place of them, I think that might stay the same. I think that what they are doing though, which is making these branch off realities, is being able to have some flexibility to do unique things. So, for example, they're bringing in characters like Moon Knight and characters that are like obscure that people don't really know about. If you're not affecting the main storyline, then you have some wiggle room to do some things. Like, for example, like Mandalorian did so well, right? I'm sure that it had some more flexibility because it wasn't about the Skywalkers. It wasn't about fighting the Sith, you know what I'm saying? It was just about the situation.
Right.
I think that Marvel will pretty much approach it the same way, utilizing some of these free areas to be able to create something new and be able to try something new, because Marvel has a robust amount of content, even on comics. And you can do, I mean, technically, Marvel ain't gonna never run out of money because it's funded by Disney. If by definition, this could go on forever. By definition, 100 years from now, when things are all holographics and stuff, you could be watching, phase 20 of a Marvel movie. If they're thinking long game like that, they could be able to make a different pathways to like different storylines. I think the only reason why they would keep viewers though is because if those other pathways somehow tie into or relate to the main story somehow, it can even be like a cameo. A villain fighting somebody in this other storyline is in Brooklyn, and so is this. I don't know. All I'm saying is, if it's done right, they can do it well, but they need to slow down and they need to, strategically decide like what would the viewers most want to see related to what we're showing right now.
Hey, Masters of Evil. That's what I want to see. And look, Masters of Evil. That's why I got the shirt on.
Masters of Evil.
But I feel like that's. I want to hope they, like you said, like that's what I love about this Loki show, because based off this Marvel, like going off phase 1, we seen it start off with Iron Man based off all these superheroes, right? But now we seen it from a villain perspective. If you remember, if we can go back to 2008, the reason why we love The Dark Knight so much is we seen that villain perspective from Joker. Like, we always seen everything from Batman and everything. Like, we never really seen how villain perspective is now, you know what I'm saying? But now we get to see it from their perspective now. You get a whole different outlook of how the cinematic universe can go, because the way we looked at Loki, especially like before, I look at him completely different now, like how I was like in the first 2 Thor movies. Like, even though we know at the end of the day, he's still Loki. He's still a scamp. He still can play tricks under his sleeve, you know what I'm saying? But it's like now, where you got all these variants now, it's like, they can go a whole new different direction with this. And I love how they were, because in how they got like you said, Solo, how they got the classic version suit of Loki, because we didn't know if Tom Hiddleston could have pulled that off, but they found a way with this multiverse where they can have the OG Loki. They can have him put on the suit and all like that, so you can have like different versions of it. Which I love that they did that, because like you can do that with Wolverine if they wanted to. Like, if they wanted to make variants of different characters, like now they can do that now. That's how we gonna probably see the Spider-Verse, how we could see Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire and all like them. Like, we'll probably see like variants of them, or even more Spider-Man out there, you know what I'm saying? So like I said, I like the way they is playing to say with this multiverse, but that wasn't the case. I don't think they probably would have been stuck with the first 5 Avengers still. Like, it probably to the point where they probably would have not killed off Iron Man. They kept it going, you know what I'm saying? But like you said, they gotta take risks, but even with that, you can still use that risk to bring like more stories in. So even with Marvel stories, you can do that. Like, I was thinking if it wasn't Secret Wars, it was going to be Infinity Gauntlet. I just didn't know what was coming first. But once they brought the Infinity Stones like that, I'm like, it's clearly they was going to Infinity Gauntlet. So now they got the Scrolls, and we got mostly going to Cosmic now. Once we basically pass all and they already put Namor, they put all these characters as like that's connected to Secret Wars. I'm like, bruh, it's clearly what they going. So I feel like they're trying to just build it up safely because you got to find out who's purpose, who going against who. Once they do all that, that's why I'm hoping we can possibly get the X-Men versus like Avengers and all like that. Because I'm like, bruh, I feel like this won't work without having mutants up in it. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a mix of all types of the beings up in this to make the Secret Wars work.
And that's my thing, because like I said, like me, I really want that X-Men versus Avengers before they like end this whole thing. So for me, I really don't want the MCU to go for too long, because by then it's gonna be like, you guys are just kind of like, making shit up now, So it's like I really only want
right, like you're just trying.
Right, so it's like, like I only want them to maybe go for maybe 10 more years, just maybe. That's only because that's what I'm saying. Like, I only want them to maybe go for 10 more years because of the X-Men. They can maybe pull off 15 if they do X-Men right. But with that, it's like, okay,
X-Men is the limelight. Like, they could do it to where X-Men is the new Avengers. Like, they did Avengers and they wore out the name Avengers, right? The last 10 years. And the next 5 years is could be about the Fantastic Four and their adventures and stuff. They can even do it like that.
But why they can't just do it where you can bring Reed Richards and explain like his part, because he plays a big part up in this too. I was thinking how that's how I was thinking they was gonna start with Fantastic Four first, and then that's how they was gonna bring the mutants in one by one, and then eventually that's when they gonna build their team of mutants. I thought that's how they was gonna probably do it, cause like I said, knowing the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you don't know how they gonna set off of how they gonna introduce these characters up in this universe. But I know like Reed Richards is gonna definitely play a big part up in this, because he is like one of the smartest ones in the cinematic universe outside of like Tony Stark and like Peter Parker and Shuri and all like that. But I probably they'll definitely try to play it safe and try to bring the Fantastic Four in here first. Cause I'm like, before they do Secret Wars, I feel like you have to have that battle between them and mutants and all like that first before you try to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that would make more sense for you to do that. But to bring all the mutants in at one time, like how they did 20 years ago, that first one, I feel like there's no way they could do that now. Like, you would have to bring them in like one by one and just make their own team of mutants like that.
I feel like see what you're saying though, because at the end of the day, right now we mainly just got the Avengers. So if they can actually do it to where the Avengers is phasing out, but then X-Men is coming in, that can kind of be one of those things where like somewhere in the middle, you get the X-Men versus Avengers, and then I don't remember how the comic ended, but they could do it to where then it's like, okay, the X-Men are now taking over, and they can span like, a few more phases, like maybe like even 5 or 6 more after, like maybe I'd say like maybe like 4 to 6 phases after that, kind of like talking about their own individual stories. All I'm saying is though, at some point they're gonna have to end it. They're going to have to.
Yeah.
So in theory, I would think that. In theory, they're thinking like, hey, comics have been the Marvel comics have been around for 70 years. 60 years, 60, 70 years, something like that. Why not?
Yeah, I think at least 60 years because of Captain America's first issue.
So why not 40s, keep making movies and stuff? Like, obviously, they're going to be a time, I think, where they're running out of ideas and creative input.
I think that's what will happen.
But then again, like you said, they can stretch it out. So they can like stretch out this Avengers for a while, and they can put X-Men at the forefront, and stretch out X-Men for a while.
Maybe that's just me being selfish because I wanted to see the entire thing play out. Maybe that's just me being selfish then.
Yeah,
I think that X-Men and like Fantastic Four, those are teams that are worth having like their own centered storyline.
You know how many mutants up in just mutants in general, bro? They could literally create a universe of mutants they wanted to. Like, it's so many characters, like so many mutant characters. Like, it's not just outside the X-Men team, bro. There's hella mutants. Like, you could just make a whole universe just with them, just based off just about mutants. You know what I'm saying? That's how I was wondering if they'll go in that direction where it'll be like humans of how they look at mutants, of how they look at them as outsiders, how they basically battling for their rights to be here on this earth and like that. I was wondering if they was gonna go in that route when they bring the mutants in, but going off this multiverse, I mean, I have no idea. But I hope if they do bring the X-Men in, I'm hoping we get the Brotherhood Mutants and all like that first. Like, I hope they build off like how Magneto and Professor X, how they. But it's like, bro, we did get that already in a way, so I wouldn't even know how they would go in this. Because in Marvel, they could do it where they can do like a flashback scene, they can do a prequel. It's like, you don't know where they can go with the X-Men, bro. But I do want to see them. I would do want to see them battle off first before they become a team, because it's like, I feel like that's how the X-Men, that's how they formed themselves in the first place. It's like they were trying to figure out their powers, like, because they were so confused of how they got them, or some people can like they didn't know of how they can view themselves to the world because they wasn't in control of their selves. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that would be perfect of how you could explain that in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That would be perfect.
You know what? I think I kind of figured out something that they can do for the X-Men. It's not foolproof, but this is just my thought. Could it be that the reason why we haven't seen the X-Men, we're not even X-Men, we haven't seen any mutants, is because the Timekeeper looked at them as they're too unstable to where we can't fully control them. So we basically, in a sense, captured a lot of the mutants and turned them into TVA agents. But because we've wiped their memory, they don't remember who they are, what abilities that they've had. Because remember, in the TVA, they say magic doesn't work there, so they could, in a sense, have it to where that gene is a slight variation of magic. Yeah. So then, because of that, it's like, okay, with them taking down the TVA, all the variants that were mutants can get sent back to where they were supposed to be, and then the time stream is going to continue on from there, which is then going to be like, oh snap, there was this school there the entire time that was actually not just housing kids with special needs, but it's actually for mutants.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a way how I think they kind of play that up in there.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
It's a stretch, but I mean,
man.
Yeah, no, but that'd be pretty cool. I mean, you know, especially after everybody thinking that, you know, Scarlet created this world and turning people into stuff, you know, since that was kind of debunked, man, it'd be cool if they came out with something like that. But we just got to see.
Right. That's just my thing about the whole mutant thing. It's like, when it comes to them introducing X-Men and mutants, they got to get their backstories right. Like, I understand it's a whole new universe and everything. It's not necessarily supposed to be based off of, like, any one sole comic. But at the end of the day, there's some things you don't change. You can't...
You think they're going to change it? You think they...
I think they're
like, currently, technically, if we're looking at what the MCU is and what's canon, currently, Scarlet Witch can make X-Men, can make mutants. She's the reason for mutants at this time.
Who? What did you say?
There hasn't been a confirmation. There has been confirmation, but there hasn't been anything else say otherwise.
I mean, even though they didn't necessarily, they could, because we know that's the main character from that X-Men that's up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They can use that. They can use her to bring it up in it, but it's like, bruh. Like, bruh, Simon, we were just talking about this, bruh. How they did Quicksilver, bruh. Like, and how they did the Hulk, bruh, in these last couple movies, bruh. It's like, I understand they definitely got some things right, but it's like, bruh, I feel like some characters, bruh, we don't necessarily know of how they gonna execute, bruh. And this is the Fantastic Four, and it's the X-Men we talked about. Like, this is people that we invest in, both even from the shows before they even did live action. So, bro, we know these characters, bruh. So it's like, I feel like that's something, bruh, they'll have to play it safe with, bruh. Especially the X-Men, because it's hella mutants. And it's like they don't even know exactly what's mutants to introduce in, because you don't want to introduce the same exact X-Men they keep bringing in. Like, I know they want to bring in Gambit eventually, or like somebody Jubilee or somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they would bring like Bishop. Like, it can be all types of underrated mutants out there you want to bring in to be like the forefront. But I know in terms of like, obviously they're going to bring in Professor X, Magneto, Wolverine. I feel like they're just trying to find the right cast, or at least bring back the right actor for that, bro, because you know that's going to be the most controversial one. Like, I feel like that's the main one they're trying to get right.
Honestly, I just say use the same cast for a lot of the, like the Quicksilver and Fox's X-Men, keep him. The I could probably say use a different Magneto, but as far as Professor X go, I'd say keep using them. For Storm, keep using her.
Hey,
Bro, every Magneto was on point.
Because did they say Hugh Jackman gonna keep playing Wolverine, or they finding somebody new?
I think they're finding somebody new because I think that's the whole reason why they did the Logan movie. Because mind you, me personally, I was not feeling the Logan movie because I felt like
what?
Hear me out.
I'm
the only reason why I wasn't feeling the Logan movie was because I felt like they were just dropping F-bombs just for no damn reason whatsoever. And on top of that, it's supposed to be set in its own universe. And I'm like, there's a lot of backstory in there that we didn't get to see. I mean, yeah, if you read the comics, then you're just like, oh, that's the reason why. But for someone like me who hasn't read the comics, I gotta know that backstory. But that's why I think the reason why they did do the Logan movie was because it was to kill off him playing Wolverine. So I think they're just trying to find somebody totally new to do it.
But I ain't gonna lie though. But the fact they got this, because did you hear that Ryan Reynolds is trying to bring him to play him one more time in Deadpool 3, which we know in terms of Deadpool universe, we don't know in terms of it's canon or not. You know what I'm saying? In terms of Deadpool, because if you seen that in the Deadpool,
tired of it, though.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like I said, like with Marvel, they trying to play it safe with these characters, bro. Like you can, if he did want to come back in some type of way of fashion, they could just use it for Deadpool 3 if it came down to it. Because I feel that's the only reason why they haven't started with that yet. Because they're trying to figure out who could play Wolverine. Because I felt like that's what Ryan Reynolds been trying to do this whole time. He's trying to team up with one of the like classic X-Men or like that. Because like that was basically what we was all waiting for anyway. Eventually, it seemed like they was building that up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that's the thing is off screen they actually go back and forth with each other. Like playfully they go back and forth. And realistically. Yeah. When you go back and rewatch Deadpool 2 and how he has that time thing, in a sense, if they were to incorporate that in Deadpool 3, there's a way how they can even use that to, in a sense, I guess, go to the time of what the MCU is. So there's a sense of where they can kind of like introduce Deadpool that way as well.
I mean, he was messing with time too. Like if you look at most of them characters in that movie too, especially in that second one, they was actually, well, I say besides Cable, because he's basically a time traveler. That's basically what Cable is in that in terms of like a mutant. That's basically what he is. But isn't he like the son of like Cyclops or somebody like that? Like is he Cyclops' son or something like that?
He's the son of Cyclops and I think a fake Jean Grey.
Jean Grey, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I was wondering. Like that's all if they do it where he can mess with his little time thing and he'll end up in like that time, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe time. I don't know if they'll do something like that, but with Deadpool, you can do anything with him because he's that type of character where it's like you can throw him in another universe and you can just make a story out of that. You know what I'm saying? So Deadpool, you can do that. You know what I'm saying? But if anybody else they didn't necessarily invest in, I wouldn't know. That's why I'm like, well, Wolverine, yeah. But in terms of Magneto, I feel like any Magneto, they like the last two of them was perfect. Like so. They could recast Magneto. I wouldn't mind off that. But in terms of they gotta get Cyclops and Storm right, bro, because they did not give them justice, bro. Because they was put too much sign on Wolverine and Magneto in the last like couple X-Men movies.
And I like the look of the Storm, woman who plays Storm, the Apocalypse, and oh my god, I like that look with the mohawk. That reminded me. I remember when we used to play. Marvel Alliance.
Yep.
You can be able to use different skins, and they had that skin with the mohawk. Or Storm.
Yep.
But okay, I could dig it. So I was digging like the new costumes. I dig like a lot of that stuff. It was just like the story, the execution just was off to me.
Completely off, bro. Yeah, they got everything was comic book accurately, bro. Like they got. I feel like once they try to go in the direction where,
bro.
Yeah, bro, that's where. But
that was bad,
horrible.
Like
I did like Apocalypse.
I mean,
he was not intimidating, bro.
I like the actor. The actor Isaac.
He was not intimidating at all.
Bro, that's Apocalypse, bro. Like they need to do
I was trying though.
How they did Thanos, bro. Like
bro,
they needed
exactly. I looked at him the same way I looked at Malachi from Dark World, bro. I looked at them as like the same type of villains, bro. It's like they had no type of intimidation to them, bro. As much as like they, I don't know, bro. They just just did not execute, bro.
Yeah, like I mean, his powers. I mean, and the thing is, it kept showing the same powers over. Like he didn't do anything really new either. Like all he kept doing was slowing down time and like.
Right,
and, like,
it wasn't showing like how valuable his powers really is, and especially he was basically just showing how powerful the other mutants was. But I'm like, bro, this is Apocalypse we talking about, bro. Like,
yeah, bro, and bro, and that was him with the celestial armor, bro. When he went to space, and like you know took out a celestial and like put on his armor, bro. Like, come on now, like you know what I'm saying? Like it's just I don't know.
I feel like he should have been way bigger, bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I still feel robbed from the Storm and Black Panther story, bro.
See now the fact how we're going, it's like, bro, I felt like they was really gonna do that, but the fact he passed away, bro, I don't know what they could do. It's like they trying to pass the mantle to his sister now. It seemed like, bro. But I feel like they could have went in that direction.
I don't know who I was cutting off. I'm just saying this comment. They're already saying that they're looking to try and do that, but they're not trying to do that. They're saying they might pick up where, you know, Killmonger, I want to say, took over. I don't know. It was, I read about it. And the way how they going with that Wakanda Forever, man, they is not filming it.
I know Killmonger plays a part in this because they is bringing him up a lot, bro. I know he's going to be in it for sure because they definitely bringing his name up a lot. I don't know what he's going to play the part in it, but I don't know.
And they said, they're going to start off with a part where Chadwick dies, so that's pretty much where
Namor.
Right.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna. They gonna show it. That's what I'm saying. Like, are they gonna really show him getting killed like off screen like that, bro? That's gonna be so weird, bro. Because it's like knowing how Wakanda and Atlantis, how they. You gonna need both kings to interact to have that. That's why I'm like, bro. It's gonna be weird to see and showing that he basically kills him off, bro, and he tries to take over Wakanda, bro. It's gonna be so weird, bro, to see that.
I highly doubt that they'll show no more, like killing off Black Panther. Because first of all, I don't think he'd be able to really like that anyway. I think it's gonna be like a heroic sacrifice type thing, like.
Or they try to twist it, like it could be him.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think it's gonna be like one fight in like a more.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a win from the Moor. Yeah, kind of like it ain't gonna be like how Mbuku beat Black Panther. It ain't gonna be like that. It's gonna be like him stopping a wall of water and everyone's escaping, and then he lets the water go and get washed away. I don't know.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
that's how that's gonna be. That's how it would make sense. Honestly, that's how us as viewers would accept that.
Yeah.
I'm only accepting one person killing off the
Black Panther, honestly.
Yeah, bro.
I think for me, when it comes to Black Panther, I don't mind them recasting him. They just shouldn't do it now.
Yeah.
It'd be too soon.
Wait,
maybe the third Black Panther movie, or there's gonna be a cameo, or there's gonna be like a Black Panther cameo in another movie. Yeah. Then you can recast them then. But for Wakanda Forever, don't do it. Exactly. And then anything after that, then I'm okay with.